I am Grady Colleen, the CapeCod.com News Center, and welcome to Sunday Journal. I'm joined today for a special Veterans Day episode with a special guest. Jim, do you mind introducing yourself for our listeners?
Hi, my name is Jim Seymour. I'm the Executive Director of Cape and Islands Veterans Outreach Center here in Hyannis.
All right, awesome. Thank you for taking some time to come down to the studio, see me in person, have this conversation.
Thank you.
There's a lot I wanted to touch on. You guys have a lot of amazing events upcoming that we want to hit for veterans who are going to be interested, veterans and their families. I also wanted to touch on just like later, just what is some of the major issues that veterans are dealing with as of late, some of the major challenges that you guys are trying to reach out about. But starting first and foremost, we have an upcoming event for Monday that I wanted to ask you about. It's a town hall. Right. Can you tell us a little bit more about what is going to be offered at this meeting?
So we're partnering with the town of Barnstable and the Veteran Service Officers to offer, this is our 7th annual Veterans Town Hall. And it'll be in 2 pieces. Outside, beginning at 9:30, we'll be wreath laying at all the different war memorials. And then by 10:30, we'll be inside on the 2nd floor in the town council chambers, where we'll host a Veterans Town Hall. And we're going to have 7 veterans spend some time, about 10 minutes each, talking about what it was like to serve the country. And we've got an incredible lineup of veterans this year. We have some younger veterans, and we have a Vietnam veteran who did an amazing amount of activity in Vietnam, going to share their story with us on Monday.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. It reminds me a lot of like, I believe it's the Human Library, where it's like they can go, if you can go and talk to people who've like been through these amazing stories and whatnot. Do you feel it's still, it's great that you have a veteran that's from Vietnam, especially? That was kind of like a big turning point in the culture for
typical Vietnam veterans now are in the mid-70s and older. So
yeah,
but I was in my office the other day talking about what he was going to talk about in Monday, and I just sat there and listened. It was in awe. It was just amazing, and you forget how challenging it was. He was a Huey helicopter pilot running.
Ooh, okay, so that's serious.
Yeah, and he claims he did 250. My guess is he's lowballing that.
Wow, the opposite of the big fish story from a fisherman. It's the modesty.
This guy's amazing. He's an honorable guy. He's down to earth, but he's got an amazing story. Mm-hmm. And the other one that is very amazing is a young man that works for me is going to be one of the presenters, Danny Sawyer. And Danny, he worked at Arlington. He was part of the team that did funerals. He was the caisson officer, so he would ride on the horses. And Danny did over 900 funerals in his tour at Arlington. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I also, you mentioned kind of like the culture kind of like, I think because of maybe movies and stuff like that, like we lock on to the idea of the older veteran being like a World War II or Korean vet, and it's like, well, yeah, but time marched on. So do you think it's extra important to like start changing that idea and listen to the Vietnam vets and then maybe Gulf War at some point? Like,
yeah, the biggest client base we have are Vietnam vets. They're the folks that are here. They can live here. They're in their 70s and older. We do have some Iraq, Afghan veterans, but a lot of them, it's too expensive to live here on the Cape, so we're not seeing a lot of them. But we have some, and I think as we look towards housing, and part of our plan is to work on affordable housing for veterans, and perhaps workforce housing to try to get veterans to come down and be our police officers, firefighters, DPW, work in the hospitals and so forth, but they need the housing to be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I know our listeners are probably like, it's another housing topic again, but it's like, well, yeah, it impacts pretty much everybody on Cape Cod. But as well, so you also have military experience. So when you're talking with some of these other individuals about their stories and stuff like that, what's it like for you? Do you have this kind of different perspective, you think, or?
I have utmost respect for what they went through. I was a reservist, so I didn't not actually deploy like all these folks did, but I still raised my hand and served my country. And it's an honor to listen to these stories, and it's an honor for us who served to hear others what it was like. Mm-hmm. It's just like I said, I've been executive director now. This is my 4th one, I believe I'm going to, and I think it's one of the most important things we do all year long. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be on broadcast live through Barnstable Town TV, and there's a link on our website that you can get there too as well. So for folks that are homebound that can't get out and want to participate, they can come on and watch it on TV.
All right, awesome. Before we move topics, though, can you just give us one more time? So when is that going to be?
So that's Monday, November 11th. It starts at 9:30 a.m. on the town green out in front of Town Hall. and then it'll transition in around 10:15, 10:30 for the speaking part. That should last probably about an hour, and we're going to serve refreshments, lunch, going to be provided by the Hyannis Elks.
All right, awesome.
It's a great community event.
Okay, cool. Next out, we're here in November, and so of course we have Thanksgiving coming up as well, which is a big holiday as well, and incorporating veterans. Can you tell us a little bit about the events you got planned for that?
So with Thanksgiving, in addition to the housing we already spoke about, we run food pantries, and we have a very robust food pantry program. We run 14 food pantries a month across the Cape and Islands. And this time of year, we'll see a significant increase of families seeking assistance for Thanksgiving. We're preparing for probably 400 or 500 families that we'll be taking care of this year. And that schedule is on our website, capeveterans.com. You click on the top of the page, the link, it'll bring you there to the schedule. We simply ask if you're a new veteran client, just bring your DD-214. That's the keys to getting access to the food pantry.
Mm-hmm. All right. And also for those listening on the radio, we will have on the capecod.com in the description for this segment up on capecod.com. We'll also have the link to there as well for people who are looking to click and just be taken directly there. Can you talk a little bit more about how I believe the food pantry had some new expansions recently, or it was
So over the last couple of years, we expanded from small pantry space about 400 square feet next to my office, and we took over the old Hertz car rental facility on Stephen Street, and it's now about 1,200 square feet. And we grew from 4 pantries a month to now 14. And we're in Eastham, Falmouth, Wareham, Martha's Vineyard, and we run 4 a weekly pantry in Hyannis. We also do home delivery for veterans that are homebound.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, the homebound is especially a major topic for, we've been talking a lot about transportation with Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority, Tom Care, and stuff like that, especially with older residents and veterans too. So it's a great service you guys are providing.
Yeah, Tom's a great guy. He's a great friend of our organization.
Oh, wonderful. Unfortunately, have you been seeing an increase in the pantry usage over the past few years? We've been hearing that
it's growing organically. Yeah, the numbers keep
it's good and bad.
Yeah. And I was meeting with the team today, as a matter of fact, and we're seeing a significant growth year over year. As things get more expensive, our average food pantry client person's probably around that 70-year range, 68, 69, 70, something like that. And what I think is happening is their income, retirement, and Social Security is not keeping pace with what it costs to live here. I mean, go out and look at what it costs to buy eggs, milk, some of the simple basic staples of life. None of that's sexy. It's sustaining, life sustaining. And one of the reasons that's a big piece of our mission is when folks start having to make choices between rent, mortgage, insurance, utilities, food, medical costs, co-pays, one thing they can control is food. And they stop buying it, and they ration it, because that's the only thing they really have control over is what they spend their money on, because all the other stuff you need. So I think we're seeing that increase as a result of just the simple cost of everything.
It's unfortunate, but it is also great that you guys are offering the service. Around the Thanksgiving holiday as well, is there any kind of cultural changes? Not cultural changes, but it's the beginning of the colder season and the off season for Cape Cod. Do you start changing your messaging, or is there any other things you start to worry about around that time? Or
we're a 24/7, 365 operation with respect to housing veterans and in our facility, in our home in Dennis and a home here in Hyannis. So we're always going. And most of our folks are year round. We don't have a lot of people that leave for the winter. They're here. They can't afford to go anywhere, so they stay here. And our business is pretty steady. We'll see some increases of additional needs, most likely with help with utilities and things like that. And, there are a lot of agencies besides ourselves, the Needy Fund and other things that we work with and try to figure it out how best to help them. There's the other organization is the Cape Veterans Inc. is another really wonderful organization headed by Richie Reel. So we partner with them on these kinds of things as well. So we've got a really strong collaborative relationship with a lot of different folks on the Cape who partner with us and help with those special situations that sometimes, they're unforeseen and it's hard.
Yeah, I know. Today it's been a beautiful few days, almost 70 degrees and whatnot. So it sucks, but it's going to get cold at some point. I know we have the state provides the LIHEAP program, low income heating. I can't remember the full acronym at this point, but I wasn't sure if you guys also help connect with that.
We do.
So yeah.
We again, a lot of that is income driven. We have a whole resource guide that we give, our case management team gives to veterans. There's a fuel assistance program, all of those things. We try not to reinvent the wheel or compete with others, but we try to make referrals where appropriate. And it works really, really well. We've got a really good, thoughtful and caring group of nonprofits down there to take care of not only veterans, but other folks that are in need too.
Mm-hmm. All right, awesome. So the also it's getting close to the holiday season, and you guys are partnering with the Cape Symphony. So I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit more.
So that's a terrific partnership. Last year we were invited to participate as a recipient of donated health and beauty aid items that we give out of our food pantry. That there's a high demand for soap and shampoo and things like that, as you can imagine, but they're prohibitively expensive. So we are encouraging participants who are attending the concert to bring donated items. We'll have teams of volunteers out there to collect them at the entryway and in on their way into the concert, and we'll package those all up. And ideally, we'll receive enough material for probably several months of food pantry activity for folks, and that's huge. Health and beauty aids are very, very expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember the back in school they used to do it was like pack a sock, or I can't remember the official term, but like a lot of it was like hygiene based things actually for soldiers serving abroad was like a major thing that you'd run out of and not really think about.
You're right. Yeah, no, it's exactly right. When you deploy, you only can carry so much to begin with, whatever's in your pack, and then a lot of these other things they need to ship over, and some basic stuff like hand sanitizer and aloe if you're walking in boots, to protect your feet and all that. It's huge.
Mm-hmm. So is the holiday season as well? I mean, statistically, it's where a lot of people will start to donate more, both for time, money, also and donate supplies. So do you find that to be a season where you kind of have to like stock up? Is that like a very important money time for you guys, or
time, talent, and treasure we call it? And for folks that have the ability to do philanthropic donating, our year end is a big piece of what we do, and we connect with our donors on an annual basis, and some hopefully new donors, and ask them to support us in the work. And other folks that are watching the program today, if you are so inclined, go to our website, capeveterans.com, and right on the upper right hand corner is a big red donate button, and you can make a one-time donation, or you can make a gift that you want to do monthly or quarterly, however you want to do it.
Mm-hmm. What is when it comes to what you guys need like right now, is it just like money? Is that going to be the biggest?
It's the easiest thing for us to take is financial, because then we can shift it where we need it in the programs, whether it's the food pantry, whether it's transportation, mm-hmm. or other emergency funds for ideas that need to happen. But we're not going to turn down gifts of non-perishable food items and things like that. We'll never turn those down.
All right, awesome. Is there anything else you wanted to highlight about the Christmas event that's coming up, or any other kind of December things, holidays that you wanted to?
We're just so excited that Cape Symphony partnered with us again this year. We're very grateful for them. I went last year, and the spirit was very generous, and the concert was amazing. And it's great to see people young and old go into something that's really joyful and happy. And by the way, on the way in, they're helping veterans. So it blows my mind sometimes, the generosity of people.
Yeah, we'll touch on this event as well a little bit later, because we're going to have Mike Alba in as well from the Cape Symphony, and we're going to ask him more then. So stay tuned if you're looking for more information about this. But that is fantastic. So while you're here as well, we still have some time. I kind of wanted to just talk about what the general climate has been for veterans, but maybe in recent years, especially post-COVID. What do you think some of the biggest challenges have been for our veterans?
So ideally, as the veterans that have never needed help before are now turning and looking for assistance first time. Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned earlier, the revenue that they get, monthly income, isn't keeping pace with their expenses. I think the other thing that's exciting, particularly in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, is the HERO Act that just recently passed earlier this year. And they're beginning to unpack what that looks like and put some regulations to the legislation. I think it's going to be exciting. Mm-hmm. I think it'll help align some of the state and federal programs. I think there's more work to be done with it, but it's a great start. And I know our delegation down here on the Cape was very supportive of that work and that legislation. And We have a really good relationship with our elected officials. They really spend time taking care of veterans, particularly our organization. They never not take a call if we need something, and they check in regularly with us. So they're really trying, at least in my mind, with so many things competing for their attention.
Wow.
Veterans is a big focus for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just wrapped up election season. For the most part, we just have our incumbents back in office. So it is, I'm sure, maybe a bit of a relief to know like your same cell phone numbers are still going to work for the remainder.
And we have a great delegation, both sides of the aisle. It's bipartisan delegation, and it's really amazing to see them work together and for the common good, and for in my case, veterans causes, which are very important to me.
Mm-hmm. Now so this is obviously based around like if financial has just been like such a huge issue for everybody, but especially the veterans. Is there some other stuff that's kind of been like in the wings in terms of some issues you've been seeing? Like, do you think as a culture now we're a lot more appreciative of our veterans than maybe during the Vietnam War era, like we mentioned before? And
I think there's a great admiration for veterans in general. You know, when I wear any sort of identifying outerwear or hat that refers to Navy, a lot of people say thank you for your service, and I see that quite a bit. I think there's a greater respect for service in our country and in our community. I think realistically, folks are very grateful. If you look at how challenged the world is today in a lot of places, we're pretty safe here. We've got a great place to live. We're not perfect, as we all know, but it's really, it's an amazing place to live.
Mm-hmm. I remember part of, the lessons of history is a lot of people coming home from Vietnam were really disappointed by the welcome home, because that was kind of the first time we were getting that cultural change, being able to see what was happening on the ground. And it was a bit of a cold reception for some of our soldiers. So I was curious if some of those same veterans nowadays are maybe feeling a little bit more warmth about the whole thing. Or
I think that's true. Mm-hmm. I think it's almost 40 years ago, or maybe even longer, right? I think the pain may still be there in some cases because they were treated pretty poorly when they came home. But I think having this shift of increasing respect for service, I think they feel more embraced, at least the veterans that I talk to. And, they're a strong lot. They really are. And they stick together. And I think just the simple acknowledgement of their service, of their willingness to lay their life down for our country is more than they could hope to expect for.
Mm-hmm. I also want to ask, does we have Joint Base Cape Cod right here on the Cape. So do you think that kind of helps with the perception of like keeping the military more in the front minds of people, for Cape Codders especially, is the idea that we actually have a base here, and so veterans are a little bit more on the mind?
I think that there's value to that. I mean, we have the National Cemetery right adjacent to it too.
Yeah.
So there's a huge presence here. Particularly Coast Guard and National Guard. And I think that does help. I really do.
Now, we're about coming up on time. I wanted to ask if there's, what are some of the ways, if people maybe they have a lot of people have more time than money, unfortunately. Do you guys have any opportunities for volunteers? Or actually, can you just talk about what kind of services you guys provide on a year-round basis on top of that?
So in addition to providing housing for at-risk homeless veterans in the food pantry program, we also do provide transportation for veterans who are unable to drive to critical medical appointments, and that's been very successful. We stood that up about 2 years ago, and it's a very successful program. What we do is we partner with third-party providers like Uber Health and local transportation companies, and we schedule the ride, and we cover the cost of the ride through our programs. And get the veterans to certain appointments that they probably wouldn't be able to get to. And the key to the whole thing with the food pantry and the transportation, and along with everything else we do, is to keep the veteran in their home so that they don't have to become more of a struggle to survive and become part of the homeless picture. So that it's easier and honestly more valuable and cheaper to keep them in their homes if we can take care of these smaller things before they become big things.
Yeah, I've heard that there's been a lot of, especially since COVID, just like there's been a lot of increase in a variety of health problems, including deaths, it's basically just because people just aren't going to the doctor for one reason or another. So it seems to be like a very, very seemingly small thing that's incredibly important to do.
So we provide about 150 rides a month. So we're really, it's a very active program, and it's a very vital program, and it's I think it's worthy of our effort to do that, and the vets appreciate it to no end.
Yeah. So as well, is there any other services that you guys want to provide, or as well the some of the partner organizations they also work with?
So we do outreach programs. We do various socialization. We call Cafe Rendezvous throughout the community. Again, our schedule is on our website at capeveterans.com. We do community stuff, and the programs, the Cafe Rendezvous have speakers with them. Sometimes we're doing like what we call the little black book, which is to get all your personal important papers in one place. And we also are partnering with attorney Chantel Rice for helping folks get their estate planning in place. And if they need that assistance, we can make a referral to Chantel, and she really likes to help veterans. And it's a new program we just launched.
Jim, I'm noticing over the past like 2 years, you guys have so many different expansion points between the pantry and these new programs, as well as like the ride service. Well, is that something that has just been what happened? Why so much growth in the past like 2-3 years?
I've got a very, very dedicated, strong board of directors, and our strategic plan. Prior to becoming executive director, I sat on the board for a couple of years, so I had some insight to where we wanted to go. And as I took over the position and identified through that plan what we needed to do, and I'll admit we did take on a lot. We've been pretty successful, and now we're just trying to make sure we can continue to provide those levels of service. And for my perspective, finding folks to help us with that, with philanthropic opportunities, is so vitally important. When you try to budget on an annual basis, it's challenging to do that when you don't necessarily have a projected sales revenue figure. You're looking, okay, I need a certain amount of money from foundations, certain amount of money from donors. We get money from the state for contracts to provide services, but we're pretty lean for what we do.
I imagine that the state contracts are kind of like the only thing that's consistent, really, but maybe I'm wrong in that assumption, or
so far so good.
Very well.
It's like anything else. It's like anything else. It depends on we're fortunate. Our state is in better shape than in a lot of states, and Governor Healy stood up as Secretary of Executive Office of Veteran Services. This first time. It used to be under Health and Human Services. Now it's a cabinet position. So Secretary Santiago, who's been in that role for a little over 2 years, is a great partner for us. He's been down to see us on multiple occasions, and he came down just a few weeks ago to talk to local veterans about the HERO Act, and he checks in regularly with us. He's a great representative of the voice of the veterans at the table of the executive office of the governor. Yeah,
that's wonderful. And I mean, we keep coming back to the money as well, but it's not money makes the world go around, but also it's like that's how you get like experts in certain fields, and especially those like higher quality services that you want to provide to the veterans too. So
I joke with my board president, and it's true. I've gone from an operations person to a development person. That's what happens, right? And I think that's true. Because with what resources we have, we're able to accomplish all of the things that we talk about. And like I said, we run a really lean operation, and we pride ourselves, and we're recognized as Platinum Charity recognition, 4-star Charity Navigator, Platinum Guide Star, and that's because of not only our financial health, but it's the dedicated team that we have at Cape and Islands Veterans Outreach, plus the volunteers, plus the board, who are all mission focused. One thing veterans understand is being mission focused. And our mission focused is to take care of veterans. And our tagline is, we've been doing this since 1983.
Yeah, it's a lot. We have a lot of nonprofits here up on Sunday Journal, and a lot of the stories that I hear basically comes down to like their full-time job is applying for grants. Is that there's just constantly having to look for more revenue streams to sometimes stay afloat, but also sometimes to meet the expansion points you really want to hit.
And the grant business is it's very competitive.
Yeah.
And the one thing I respect about foundations and things like that, they just don't give it away. You've got to prove and demonstrate your need for their support. And then what I really appreciate is the reporting back after the fact. So we gave you this grant. What did you do with it? And we can prove and show what we've done with it. And in many cases, it leads to additional opportunities. So for us, it's again, we have a very compelling story taking care of veterans. We have a very lean operation. We utilize as much of our resources as we can for programs, for housing, for food, for transportation. And I get a dedicated team that works for Cape and Islands Veterans Outreach. And they're not becoming millionaires working for a nonprofit.
Hey, it's
passion for the mission.
Passion project. Yeah, it's all for the love of it. Well, thank you very much, Jim, for joining me for this conversation. It's been a pleasure. We're about coming up on time, but we still have a couple minutes. Anything else you want to highlight for our listeners, or some other things you're excited for while you're here?
So I would have an ask for your audience. If you know a veteran or veteran family that needs assistance and they're not familiar with us, point them to us or call us and we'll help. That's the other piece, is the folks can be outreach folks for us, because you know who's in your community. You know that veteran neighbor who might need resources or help. And sometimes it's as simple as, hey, who do I call for this? I've never applied to the VA for benefits. Am I eligible? We can help with that. We have great referral partners with the VA just down the street. Adam Doffler is a great representative of the VA. He's really good at helping with veterans applications. We also work with, as you mentioned, you asked earlier about other veterans groups. Heroes in Transition is another great partner. We were at their gala event the other night, which was an amazing event for Cindy Jones and the folks over at Heroes. And I think it was very successful, but it was amazing who was in the room to support that. They've been around for 15 years. It's amazing how quickly time goes. And the other real big partner for us is the Nick Lazzaro's Foundation too. Nick, that foundation helps us year in and year out. And we're very, very pleased to be connected with them, for an unfortunate reason, right? But that foundation work does amazing, amazing, amazing things.
All right, Jim, well, thank you very much for joining me for this conversation. It has been a pleasure, and good luck with all these upcoming events.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm Grady Gillane in the CapeCod.com News Center, and thank you for listening to Sunday Journal.